So this is going to be one of those videos in between bigger, more ambitious videos where I kind of just sit down and yap about something Sonic related that I'm interested in, and also just kind of get my opinions out there, because I'm a person with a lot of opinions who doesn't really seem to shut up about them, and I feel like I need an outlet for that. And so right now I want to discuss Sonic X Shadow Generations. I dived into a little bit of my opinions in the previous video I did, which was when Sonic Central came out and we all reacted to it and we all went crazy that Mephiles was actually in the game, along with some very, very obvious hints that characters like Infinite would be in the game. As well as some of the PlayStation trailers that dropped as well, like the Rivals trailer featuring Sonic and some of the PS5 DualSense features, as well as the State of Play trailer that actually showed off the Shadow movie pack, which was really cool. So I wanted to kind of delve more into my thoughts about the game in general, because I feel like now will be as good as time as any while, you know, the game's kind of back in discussion right before its release date. A point of belligerence that has always kind of plagued the Sonic series a couple years back was just Sega's marketing, or more accurately, lack thereof. And it was so bad that even I made a video on the topic a couple years ago that actually kind of delved into that a little bit more. But basically the whole idea was that Sega was coming out with games like Team Sonic Racing, as well as doing some other collabs and different stuff outside of video games, and they just kind of didn't market it very well. In fact, I think that whole era of Sonic was definitely one of the more darker times in recent memory, because this was coming fresh off of Forces, and then we had to wait about 3 years for any form of news about what Sonic was going to be doing, and that whole time was just nothing but pure radio silence and like the occasional meme on Twitter, and that made everyone really upset. And oh Jesus, it was just nothing but controversy and people getting mad, and it was a time. It was a time, and I was there, and it was bad. And in fact, it was kind of a lot of the reason that I left the internet for a little while. I didn't really vibe with the Sonic community and how there was always something going on that just wasn't right. But that's neither here or there, and that's over now. And I bring all this up just to say that Sega's marketing with Sonic X Shadow Generations and subsequent other Sonic things in recent memory have been extremely well, and you can tell that they improved a lot. And I think they definitely learned from that 2020 dark era age where we didn't get any news and everyone was really upset that, you know, we've just been met with radio silence about everything Sonic related for a long time. And it kind of wasn't necessarily their fault, because the big thing of 2020 happened and it kind of messed up everyone's schedule, and it just made the releases of games and other projects with teams a lot more difficult and definitely halted a lot of things. And so now, with the opportunity that we've been presented with a second chance at Civilization, I think Sega is going full front on everything Sonic related and just trying to make sure that we never get a content drought ever again, because we all know how we acted last time. And so with that being said, what do I think of the marketing for this game? I think it is spectacular. I think everything about this game and its reveal up to its first gameplay teasings has all been perfect. Like, this is how you market a game. From the very first trailer, we seen gameplay, and we seen those cinematics, and we seen the appeal of the game. We seen the hook. You get a very cinematic Shadow the Hedgehog experience with really good level design to boot. It almost feels AAA in a way, despite the fact that it's literally just side content for a re-release of Generations. But everything about the initial reveal was perfect, except for the fact that it got leaked 2 days prior. God damn! It's such a shame. It's such a damn shame that it had to happen too, because everything about the reveal was setting up to be absolutely insane. Like, imagine if we watched the trailer without knowing that Shadow was gonna be in it. That would have been a huge reveal and an absolute twist for the ages, pretty much. Because at first you're just greeted with Sonic Generations and you're like, oh, okay, they're just remastering Generations. Okay, well, big whoop. Everyone has bought the game, everyone played it, everyone loves it. So what is the appeal here? Because I don't want to buy Generations again. I mean, there's some appeal, you know, like 4K 60 if you're on the newest consoles and whatnot, but for a lot of people who have it on PC, it's like, well, what's the point? And so the trailer goes on, and right when you think it's gonna end, Shadow comes in out of nowhere and completely steals the show and changes the entire tone of the trailer on its head. The music goes from this upbeat, funky, yeah, Sonic, and then boom, you're hit with Shadow the Hedgehog and his edge and his cool, distorted guitars and those really punchy horns, and it's perfect. And so what we kind of got after those initial reveals were amazing, because not only did we get that first trailer showing gameplay, but just a month later we actually did get our hands on the game, or at least some of us did that can travel, and we got to record gameplay for Shadow Generations, which was a huge wave on YouTube for a second, and it looked so good. The boss fights, the level design, this game is shaping up to be absolutely amazing. Before I actually talk about parts of the game, I do want to discuss the Sonic Generations portion for a little bit. Not too long though, but there is enough difference in that port to kind of satiate a little segment where I just kind of discuss what has changed and what I think about it. I know one of the first things that kind of came out was that classic Sonic looks slightly different, and it's really hard to notice. In fact, you kind of can't without a direct comparison, but I guess they did this to make him look more like how he does in Sonic Superstars and kind of keep the continuity the same, which I don't really mind. I don't know if anyone has ever said that he controls differently, so I don't think he does control differently, especially considering that they kind of already made the level design based on the physics for classic Sonic in that game. So I feel like it'd be a little bit too much to ask for him to control like how he does in Sonic Superstars, especially since they're kind of made on two completely different engines. But I don't really mind how classic Sonic controls in Sonic Generations. I think it's fine, it's palatable, it's not borderline unplayable like it is in Sonic Forces, so I can't complain too much. But they did make some changes to his controls, because they actually added the drop dash in Sonic Generations, which I feel like is kind of a warrant at this point. Any classic Sonic 2D side-scrolling thing is going to have the drop dash now. But I'm really happy that they added it to Generations, because I was always looking for a mod that would add the drop dash into Sonic Generations for classic Sonic, and I just couldn't find one anywhere. I don't know if I was looking in the wrong spot, but I couldn't find any on YouTube or Game Banana, so it was really hard for me to kind of cope with the fact that I no longer have the drop dash if I play Sonic Generations. Because after you play so much Mania and so many 2D Sonic games after Mania, you realize how much the drop dash is almost a necessity now for, you know, feeling good while playing classic Sonic in 2D. It just changes the game completely and kind of makes you less afraid of jumping, if that makes sense. I know that they also changed the controls for Modern Sonic, and they gave him the drop dash too for some reason, which I don't really see myself using a lot, but I guess it's kind of cool that it's there. I don't know why though, because if it controls like anything like how it does in Frontiers, then why would you ever use it? Because the one in Frontiers sucks. It's really bad. But they also changed the controls for Modern Sonic to fit more with the Frontiers control scheme, like with R2 for boost and the square for attack, or I guess it would be X if you're on Xbox, which is something I'm actually pretty excited about, because in all honesty, I do prefer the Frontiers control scheme. However, one thing that I do wish that kind of carried over from Frontiers that doesn't seem to be in Generations in either Sonic or Shadow's side is being able to homing attack from the ground. You still have to jump before you homing attack, which is kind of a shame, because I really like the way Frontiers handled it, where you can just kind of do it off the ground since it's its own separate button. So you kind of don't really have to press the same button again to do the second action after you do the first action, which is jumping. But it's something that I can get over relatively quickly. It's just a shame that you can't homing attack off the ground, although I guess that would lead to some games breaking, maybe. I don't know how much things would break or change if you could homing attack off the ground, but I'm willing to forget about it, I guess. Of course, there's always a possibility that I could be wrong. That's probably one of the first things I'm going to test, but I don't think it's in there. We also have the Chow rescue missions, which are kind of added on top of the regular missions that are in Sonic Generations, and I'm not quite sure how they play. I haven't really had the chance to look at it or really kind of learn what they are, but from the looks of things, I imagine it would be somewhat similar to how the Chow rescue missions worked in the Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon cyberspace levels, where you would just kind of pick up an animal and then you just take them to a destination. I'd imagine that's kind of close to how it is in Generations. I wouldn't imagine being too far off the mark. But overall, I really do like the Generations portions, and I like what little changes they did make to it. I think overall it's a pretty good remaster, and I'm really glad that they didn't try to go forward and change anything like the lighting in Sonic Colors Ultimate or anything like that. Overall, I'm really happy with this, and I'm really excited to try out Generations with that new control scheme and just see how everything is. Moving on to the main topic of discussion, the one, the only, Shadow Generations. Oh my God. I don't know if it's too early to say this, and I don't know if I should say this in case I'm actually wrong. And I know that it's not going to be exactly one-to-one, but as far as it looks right now, this is kind of my dream Sonic game come true. Because while, yes, people dreamed of the imaginative world of an open-world Sonic game, and some people dreamed of just a Sonic Adventure 3 that truly recaptured the magic of the first two adventure games, my dream Sonic game has always been purely about spectacle, in a way. Of course, good gameplay to boot, obviously, but I just wanted Sonic to really hone in on that cool factor. Because Sonic is cool, and he can be cool, and he was cool, and he still is cool today. As a matter of fact, I think the Supersonic boss fights from Sonic Frontiers pretty much showed me just what my dream Sonic game could possibly look like. And this game takes heavy inspiration from those moments in Sonic Frontiers, and just how well that the community received that. You can see in the first level when midway you stop to punch this missile and kick it out of the way, and it explodes in the background in this huge glorious spectacle. It's wonderful, it's amazing. And I really hope every level has something like that, because I really dig that a lot. But everything else about the game just screams improvement, and I think with the sort of standards that Generations set for itself, when you have a game to kind of go alongside that, you have to make sure you at least match Generations quality, and Generations was pure quality. So I'd imagine the team asking themselves, okay, so how do we improve on Generations? How do we show that 10 years have passed and we got better? Well, what are the flaws with Generations? Number one, the story. A lot of people didn't take the story very well. So let's get Ian Flynn back for Shadow Generations and truly hone in on Shadow's character arc and some of the stuff that we originally saw in SA2 over 20 years ago. Well, what's another thing? Well, the bosses. I personally think that the bosses in Generations are really good. Some of the best 3D bosses in the series. However, that final boss really capsizes the experience in a way, and it makes you kind of realize that, yeah, no, this sucks. It does make the other bosses in comparison look really good, but with the Generations finale, that's kind of the last little oomph that you're kind of giving the player to look back on and be like, oh yeah, that defined the experience. So when you don't go out with a bang, but rather a smack across the face with a napkin from a little kid's birthday party, it kind of makes you think of the game a little less than you did a couple minutes ago. And so obviously, with this new engine and with the inspiration from the boss fights of Sonic Frontiers, we get the Shadow Generations boss fights, which look stunning and so fun, as well as other things that just come along with the new power of today's modern technology. Everything down to the levels being able to change on the fly halfway through, everything down to the improved graphics that we can get with new technology, as well as the new models, which I guess look better, but I still wish they made original models, and the improved animation now with a bigger budget and the better voice acting, because man, Kirk Thornton had a long way to go from Generations. And so I think hearing Kirk Thornton in Generations and then going to the Shadow portion is going to be a huge difference in everything. It's gonna be massive improvement. The controls as well look super fine-tuned, and it seems to take a lot of inspiration from Frontiers as well, especially with some of the feedback that we've given the team when the game first came out about Sonic's jump completely halting all of his momentum. They seem to have fixed that here, and so I think when you actually jump while you're moving, Shadow will actually carry some of his momentum, which I could be wrong, but I look at this shot from the movie pack trailer, and it seems to me like jumping is not something that completely kills your momentum, and I'm really excited for that. I don't think I've seen anyone complain about how the controls feel in this game. I know some people were kind of scared that maybe the homing attack delay would cause problems, but they seem to have toned down the delay a whole lot since Frontiers, that it doesn't really bother you that much. And I think that's what's going on with the jump physics and just the physics overall. Nobody seems to bother talking about it because it feels so natural that you almost don't notice it. Yeah, of course Sonic's jump carries his momentum. Why wouldn't it? That's how it works in real life. And so when you have that in a game, you kind of don't realize it's there, and you're just like, yeah, this is just how Sonic controls. It feels great, like it always does. Which is really exciting, and I'm really glad that's happening, but oh my god, I wish somebody would confirm to me if I'm right, because it's kind of bothering me a little bit. I want the confirmation. I also know that somebody has spoken out and said that there are sliders to customize some certain control aspects of the game. I think there's also an option to go back to the original controls from Generations if you really want to do that, although I don't think that's in the Shadow portion, just, in Generations portion. But good controls is one thing, good level design is another thing that can really bump up your game's quality to a godly level. And the level design here looks so, amazing. It looks top-notch. It's perfect. It's everything that we've kind of loved about the original Cyberspace levels, but bumped up to a 10. So now we get these new art aesthetics that, yeah, they're still technically not original, but they're amazing. The level designs are so pretty. The background detail and just the overall environment environment around you, yeah, it's taken from past games, but they're not done to death, and so it feels refreshing, it feels new, despite the fact that it kind of technically isn't. And of course, that's just also the beauty of the modern consoles and modern PCs and the new technology that we have, where you can kind of do basically whatever you want with game design now. There's not really any limitations anymore. And so yeah, why not have a level where you go through and then it changes halfway through to another level? That's awesome, brilliant. Why wouldn't you do that? Let's just go crazy with the level design too. Let's have all these different pathways, and let's let the level open up to where you can truly explore, almost like how you did in the open zones of Sonic Frontiers. Let's also use the ramps for momentum like how we did in Sonic Frontiers to really open up new pathways and different ways to play the level. It's brilliant. I love it. It's so awesome, and I'm really excited for the future of Sonic just based off how creative and fun this game looks and how it would feel to control. This game's probably gonna feel like just a playground for you to absolutely go ham on. And you know what I said about the open level design from Frontiers? You know what? Let's also just make an open zone hub world. Why not? We can do that. The new PlayStation, the new Xbox, they're not gonna have any problem loading a big open world like this, not anymore. So let's ditch the 2D hub world from Generations and just say fuck it. And that is amazing. I'm really excited about that. This game makes me so giddy in ways that I haven't felt since I was a kid. I mean, I was really excited for Frontiers. I really was. But this is just a whole new level of, oh my god, they really are going crazy with this. I'm really excited to explore the little miniature open zone. Even if it's not as big as some of the islands in Frontiers, I don't care. I really hope that they have some incentive to go explore it and, you know, do other stuff with it aside from just looking for the levels. And they seem to be, because in some of the gameplay that we have seen, there are these collectibles and sound memories and other stuff that you can go around and actually obtain if you look, and that is amazing. That incentivizes replay value, on top of just the fact that Shadow feels so good to control that you can basically take the level in any way you want to. And that includes going back and trying a different way with his physics, or just looking at all the open new pathways that they keep implementing in these levels. These levels are like roads that constantly open up and have new turns and twists, and yeah, they all just lead back to the same place eventually, but that's what's fun about exploring these new pathways, is that yeah, you get to see something a little different while it lasts, and some of them might be faster, some of them might be slower, but obtain a collectible. And so optimizing your runs while playing this game and truly taking the fastest way, it's rewarding. It's gonna feel so rewarding, and I'm really excited for that. And I can tell there's lots and lots of passion that's really going into this game, because yeah, while it is technically just side content for Sonic Generations, you can tell that they're proud of it. They're confident of it, because whenever we do see Sonic X Shadow Generations, all you see is the Shadow portion. You barely see anything in the Sonic Generations portion, because, well, yeah, we've all seen Sonic Generations. We all know how it plays. We all know it's a good game. But, you know, when you have a re-release like this, if they weren't confident in it, we wouldn't see as much of it. But we're seeing so much, because they really want to show that off. They really want us to play it and enjoy it, because it is so passion-filled and so driven and so creative, and there's so many good ideas in this that they're just they're having fun. They're having fun making this, and you can tell. So much fun, in fact, that they're willing to go in and make more with it. They made the Shadow movie pack that we saw in yesterday's State of Play trailer, and I already talked about that, so I'm not going to go too much into that. If you do want to hear me talk about my opinions on that, then I would definitely head over to my previous video where I actually reacted to Sonic Central. I talk about it towards the end. I really hope that we do get some sort of DLC or level expansions or something like that in the future towards like 2025 while we're waiting for the next Sonic game, because I feel like that is an amazing way to continue keeping the game alive and to just keep the Sonic community really excited for what's to come. Especially since that was the biggest miss of all time, was not making level packs for Sonic Generations, because it was the perfect setup. You could take any level from the past and just reinvent it and make new levels, and then keep the player base excited, and then make Sonic Generations feel like a huge game when at launch it felt kind of short. And so I really hope that that's what they end up doing for Shadow Generations. And while I don't want to get my hopes too high, with this new formula, you could do anything. I mean, you can make levels that turn into other levels, so you don't have to make a whole level based on just, you know, what's a level? Misty Lake from Sonic and the Black Knight. That's never gonna happen, but if it did, you don't have to make it a whole entire level. You can just have it change halfway through to another level, like, White Acropolis from Sonic 06 or something. It just works. It's perfect. And now would be the perfect time to do it, especially since if they did have level packs for Sonic Generations, they'd probably have to make a whole level for Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic, and I can see how that would end up kind of being a lot for just DLC, but with just Shadow, there aren't, you know, 2 Shadows, unless you count Movie Shadow as a different Shadow, but it's still one playable character. And so, yeah, I really hope that they go forward with some DLC, at least for a couple months. Maybe like 5 or 4 3 level packs would be amazing. And as far as what the future is concerned, this game, I think, is telling us. It's so cinematic, there's so much budget, there's so much passion. Sonic is back, and Sonic isn't afraid of its own past anymore. We seen in the first Shadow Dark Beginnings episode that they actually have the moon torn in half like how it has supposed to have been for years at this point. Years! On top of the fact that they murked Maria again. If they were gonna retcon anything, it would be the death of a literal child. But they didn't. And look, they have humans in Sonic again. There they are, right there. You know how long it's been? Over a decade, since 2008. And yeah, they're humans we've already seen, but that doesn't change the fact that they can't retcon humans out of the Sonic world. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of Sonic. I don't know if we'll ever see new humans again, but the point is basically that Sonic has sort of embraced itself. Sonic Team is not afraid of its own past anymore and some of the plot points that they originally explored all those years ago. Because Sonic's weird era, where he turned into a werehog, and when Shadow had a gun, and when Eggman blew up half the moon, that's what makes Sonic unique. That's what makes Sonic Sonic. That's the appeal. It's just how kind of weird it is if you think about it. You mean to tell me that there are anthropomorphic dogs that act like Sonic characters, but there are also real dogs that human adopts as pets? Yeah, of course there is. Fuck it, right? It's Sonic. And so I am insanely excited. And this is the most I've yelled in a little while, so you can tell. We are living in the best timeline. This is absolutely the best timeline. Bar none. There's no other way of saying it. We had our ups and downs over the past few years, me and Sonic, but it's good now. We're chill. We're homies again. We're bros. I'll go to the Sonic cookout. I want to see my bro Sonic. And so with that all being said, thank you so much for listening to me yap endlessly. I kind of did get a little bit off topic. I talked more than what I thought I would have talked about, because I was just going to talk about my opinions of Shadow Generations, but clearly this became a little bit more than that. So I'm really excited to post this video, actually. And stay tuned for whatever I'm working on next, because I'm working on a pretty big video right now. And in fact, I have a whole laundry list of videos that I really want to do that kind of involve a little bit more than just yapping to a microphone. I want to explore different parts of the series that are really special to me, and I also just want to explore things that nobody has ever seemed to talk about before. And so if you're striving for originality within the Sonic YouTuber space, there's already lots of it, but I'm hoping to give out just a little bit more. And so be sure to check out my other videos, as I'm always working on something. And if you want updates on what I'm actually doing right now, you can check my community tab, as I'm always posting updates there. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care out there. Hey, I finally figured out an outro. Isn't that cool?